Hi guys, good Wednesday morning. It is December 4th. You might notice I have a new face next to me. Adam Bennett's been filling in for me on H-Town Rush. I've been filling in for Xavier. There have been a lot of new faces.
Yeah, it's kind of like a game of musical chairs here. You know, Xavier's out this week, so he's out of the building. You're moving over to take his spot. I'm moving over to take yours, although you've still been helping me with a lot of the different duties, including this so far this week.
We have Janelle Bluda filling in for Stephanie Simmons, and then Erica Lopez is in for Cheetah, who's about to have a baby any moment.
And Doug was filling in for Stephanie, and now Janelle is filling in for Doug. So you
End of year vacations.
Yeah, so anything is possible during the month of December. Probably a lot like where you guys work, where you know people are still taking that long vacation from Thanksgiving. People have a lot of vacation days left to burn. So.
Welcome to December.
Thank you. Yes, welcome to December, and glad to be here on the digital update. And Brandi's kind of trying to show me the ropes today as we sort of transition to maybe me doing this at least Thursday and Friday.
Yes, so please be kind.
Yes, first time.
Jaime is running the computer.
Schedule.
Yes. Go ahead and leave your comments and questions as we go through some of these stories. So Adam knows if you're just joining us, the way this works, we're running down some of the big stories that you guys are clicking on khou.com and that you're sharing through our Facebook page. So we want this to be a conversation.
Right.
Now there's actually someone else I can talk to up here, which is kind of nice, but I love engaging with you guys too. So comments and questions down below. We will circle back to them after the forecast. We're going to start though with a story that was breaking news during H-Town Rush, and it's a triple shooting in the Sunnyside area, kind of on the south side of Houston. What we know is 2 people are dead, a man and woman who were found in the house. A third person is in critical condition at the hospital. Now, investigators are saying this isn't a random shooting, so they're not worried about anyone else really being in danger, but they did say the suspect is a teen who ran from the scene. So we don't have a lot of details about this yet.
Yeah, just being, you know, usually dayside reporter and having covered a lot of these kinds of stories for H-Town Rush, that's always the tough part, is that a lot of times when you first get on a scene, I mean, this just happened just after 5 o'clock this morning, there's not a lot of information to go on a lot of times. Police are still canvassing the neighborhood, they're looking for witnesses to talk to, and the big thing they're going to be looking for is surveillance video. That is so key in a case like this, especially when it's, you know, late at night, there may not have been a lot of witnesses out. So yeah, the description unfortunately is pretty vague of the suspect at this point, but hopefully, you know, as the hours go by, a lot of times police will release more information and sometimes pictures or even video to help with this investigation. The other thing we really don't know is the motive. Again, that's usually something that they don't know this early in the investigation, so they're trying to figure that out. We're told that they're trying to let the family members of the 2 deceased people know what happened, unfortunately, and then
Before they release those
before
identities.
they release the name. So we should have a little bit more information coming up as the morning continues.
See, isn't this wonderful? You have a dayside reporter who's providing more insight. I want to mention, we say dayside reporter, and a lot of people who are watching probably don't understand what that is. So my shift starts at 2 a.m. It ends at 10 a.m. When does your normal shift?
So first of all, I have to say how she does it every day, I have no idea. I'm still trying to get used to
coffee. It's coffee.
Coffee, and in your case, a lot of Mountain Dew.
A lot of Mountain Dew.
A lot of Mountain Dew. She's getting me hooked. There's our vending machine is fully stocked, and I think probably because they know.
That was a new addition, actually. It wasn't part of the initial lineup in the vending machine, and I got really excited when they added it. So
awesome.
Energy levels went up.
Awesome. Yeah. So most days I don't have to chug nearly as many Mountain Dews as today. My shift normally goes from about 9:30 in the morning until 6:30 at night. It just depends on how much news is going on that day, how far out they send me. If you guys watch the shows later in the afternoon, sometimes I'm here in studio, which is always nice because then you can get out of here a little bit earlier and try to beat traffic around the Galleria, which is ferocious all the time, but especially around the holidays.
The alternative is you end up live in like Splendora at 6 o'clock, and it takes a while to get back home.
Or Huntsville or Galveston, you get stuck on that, you know, I-45 traffic, whether it's north or south, it's never fun. So yeah, it just depends on the day, but it's been fun. H-Town Rush is a lot of fun, the crew is great, and it's just a totally different beast from what we do in the afternoons.
Yeah, so I'm kind of first shift, he's second shift, and then the third shift is 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. covering our 10 p.m. newscast.
Right, and they call that the night side shift. And sometimes you'll see them pop up in the earlier shows if there's like really big breaking news going on, but a lot of times they have the whole afternoon to put their stories together for the 10 o'clock newscast.
One of the stories we can guarantee they're going to be talking about later today, of course, the impeachment hearing. We're going to be streaming that, the first meeting of the Judicial Committee, the House Judicial Committee, to take up that report that the House Intelligence Committee just approved and released last night. But amid all that, President Trump is in London for the NATO summit, and there's been kind of a blow up, and it's all because of this video that I want to show you. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't yet, but it's of a couple leaders. You see Emmanuel Macron back there, Boris Johnson, Justin Trudeau. Actually, Princess Anne is in that mix as well. And if you listen on the mic, they never mentioned President Trump specifically, but they're asking why Macron is late, and Trudeau jumps in with, oh, because there was this press conference and you should have seen his team's jaws drop. President Trump is inferring that that's probably about him, and he just came out in the past few minutes and called Trudeau, Canada's prime minister, two-faced.
This is the most excitement we've seen at a NATO summit in a while.
And what's wild is folks who were there, this is a pool camera.
Right.
So they may not have known that they were being recorded, but folks who were there say they were speaking loud enough that it clearly wasn't, quiet gossiping. A lot of people overheard that conversation.
Yeah, and of course, that's going on, but there's also what's going on this side of the pond. President Trump had already been upset about the impeachment inquiry, the report that came out yesterday calling it unpatriotic. So it's just, there are so many moving parts to this story as usual. And again,
Absolutely.
One quick note on the impeachment hearing, we will be streaming that 9 o'clock this morning is when it starts.
That's why we're on a little bit early today.
Right, yeah, usually we come on about 8:30 or so, but
Bingo.
got to get started a little bit earlier.
Now, one of the stories that Adam covered this morning was about this James Harden dunk that may be again.
I've never really seen anything quite like this. So we'll show you the video in a second, but basically the officials are admitting that they made the wrong call. It was a crazy dunk that James Harden made pretty much like middle of the fourth quarter, and the ball basically appeared to go like through the hoop and then back out, but it turns out it actually went through the hoop and then around over the top with the net. So that shot should have counted, but the officials at the spot ruled that no, it was no basket. There was a technicality where they wouldn't let the Rockets coach challenge it, and so
because it was too late, the 30 seconds had already passed.
30 seconds had passed during that timeout, wasn't able to challenge it, and at that point the Rockets were up, I think, by 13 points, even without that dunk, but they ended up losing the game in double overtime by 2 points. So in other words, that dunk could have been the difference in the game. Could have at least.
Okay, let's show them the dunk.
Yeah,
if you haven't seen
it, you got to
will
see
today.
it. I mean, words don't do it justice. So if we can take a look at that.
Uh-oh. Maybe it won't play. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so Harden gets a steal and just goes down the court, slams it in there, and you see it might do a slow-mo here. The replay shows that the net, basically the end of the net, whips it back up and over.
Yeah, it kind
so
of
I know that the slow-mo is coming.
Yeah, so you might be able to see it here. So it according to, there it is, that's the best shot right there. According to the NBA's rules, as long as the ball goes through the net, it should count. And the officials thought it had not gone all the way through and popped back up, but especially from that top angle, you can clearly see that it kind of makes that arc around and over the top, and it should be a basket. People have been fired up about this all morning long. And one of the
what's the next step
okay,
here?
so
like if the NBA is like, oh, we really botched this one, what happens?
Okay, so according to some reports out there, there are a couple different options here. The NBA can either outright give Houston the win, which I know a lot of Rockets fans would like, or
Spurs fans probably not so much.
Yeah, Spurs fans not so much, especially with this rivalry. Or they could replay the final 7 minutes and roughly
50?
about 7 minutes and 50, 7 minutes and 50 seconds, which is how much time was left in regulation at that point. Which both of those things sound crazy at first. I couldn't believe that either one would happen, but there actually is a precedent for this. ESPN had reported that in 2008 there was a game between the Miami Heat and the Atlanta Hawks. And it was a little bit different situation. I guess the official scorer had ruled that Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq, had fouled out for Miami with just 51.9 seconds left in the game. So this game was basically over. I think Atlanta at that point had the lead, or it was pretty close. But they ruled that he fouled out. Atlanta goes on to win the game, but later they realized that they made the wrong call. So 4 months later, they replayed just that final 51.9 seconds.
Less than a minute. How do you prepare? You're like, yeah, all right, let's go get him.
Yeah, do you even warm up
over.
for that, or how does that work? I don't know. Maybe they just tacked it on to an existing game, that they were going to play anyway 4 months down the road. But yeah, Atlanta ended up winning both times, but it's going to be really interesting to see what they decide here.
So let us know what you think about the outcome, about the call, and what you think could happen next. What do you think the NBA is going to do? I've heard people call out Coach D'Antoni. I've heard people call out the refs. So
yeah, one of the Twitter users we used in our story this morning said that the refs stole the game from the Rockets. But what was interesting though is the Rockets coach.
I mean, the Rockets gave away a huge fourth quarter lead.
Yeah, and that was the point that a lot of people, even Houston fans, were making. Like, look, at one point they were up 22 points. Like I said, when that dunk happened, they still had a 13-point lead. James Harden had a couple chances to win it again, both in regulation and in overtime. So, like, you know, the coach blamed a lack of focus. So, you know, it just depends who you ask, I guess. But I'm kind of hoping we get to see, I don't know,
another 7 minutes,
another 7
seconds?
minutes of basketball. Yeah, 7 minutes, 50 seconds of basketball. And it's always such a great rivalry anyway, so we'll take what we can get.
I-10 rivalry. All right. Our next story, you got to see the picture for this one. It's a mountain lion that was shot by a hunter in Freer, Texas. I've never heard of that city. I'm going to assume it's down near the border because our sister station in Corpus Christi did this story. Shot on John Walker's ranch. It's a 143-pound mountain lion. And so it was a leased hunter. He was on the property, saw it approaching a feeder apparently, and took the shot. 143 pounds. I mean, just, we're talking about a mountain lion to be sure, but it almost sounds like a lion.
Yeah, I'd probably freeze in my tracks or something like that. I don't think they come anywhere near Houston at this point. We of course have the bobcats and the coyotes. I know we were talking a minute ago. The coyotes here like to use the bayous a lot.
As their freeway
kind of their
system.
highway, yeah. We get stuck on 610. They go move about freely through, you know, White Oak Bayou and some of the others. So you have to be careful with the small pets. But yeah,
you said you grew up and had a lot of bobcats.
Yeah, so I lived near a creek growing up, and we really had to watch out with our dogs, especially when they were smaller. I mean, we had big collies, so they grew to be pretty big and could definitely have a mean streak if you messed with them. But even though they're pretty chill most of the time, but. Yeah, when they were puppies, we really had to worry about them because those bobcats would go after just about anything.
I grew up in the country. My town has 110 people in it now, according to Wikipedia. So we just that was the rule of thumb. You had to be careful about anything. Even raccoons. Raccoons are really mean. They killed my rabbit. They ate my rabbit.
Wow.
I just want to point that out. I'm still traumatized by that. But you never knew really what was out there.
I didn't know they were that vicious. I've seen them like going through trash cans before, and I've had a raccoon steal food from me on a beach. Yeah.
Vicious little suckers.
Yeah, but yeah, just be careful.
All right, our last story. I want to hear your take on this. We're talking about a healthy living village. This is something
cool.
that Lifetime Fitness's CEO thinks is kind of the wave of the future. So they just opened a new Lifetime Fitness in Edina, Minnesota. Check this out. It's the most expensive one that's ever built in Minnesota. It's the company's based in Minneapolis. But you see Lifetime Work there. That is a 30,000 square foot co-working space that is attached to Lifetime Fitness. And this is all part of his plans to also build a 300-unit luxury apartment complex nearby. He wants to make this a healthy living village.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
Yeah, they're kind of hoping that initial gym will be the catalyst to spark interest in some of the other things that they have there and really bring a lot of people in. And it's a couple of things really stuck out to me. Number one, the price tag for the membership, $160 per month for singles, $330 a month for a family of 4. They said they already have a wait list.
And it's the most expensive to build and to join.
Yeah.
That Lifetime has had.
Yeah, but clearly there's an interest there, and this is kind of part of that bigger movement of the whole, you know, live, work, play environment. People want to be able to walk to things. They don't want to have to get in their car and drive every time they need something. And the really cool thing to me, and I think maybe this could be replicated, and I know that the head of Lifetime said he wants to do something like this in other cities around the country, is using this old mall. You know, we've seen as online retailing has become more and more popular. You know I certainly buy a lot more stuff online and hardly ever visit a mall anymore. They're taking this space that's basically just sitting there unused and transforming it into something new and something that people want to go see and shop at and live in.
Let me know if there is an example of this that really strikes you. I know San Antonio's The Pearl. It was the Pearl Brewery.
It's former brewery.
And they have done such an incredible job of creating this live, work, play environment while maintaining a lot of the history of that property, the old buildings, even some of the old materials like the equipment that was used in the brewery. It's still in there.
Yeah.
And I think that's so neat. So it's a little different when you're converting a mall.
Just a little bit, but it's nice because it gives it a little bit of character. Like the San Antonio example you mentioned, the Pearl, they still have parts of the old brewery and some of the machinery in there. So as you're walking around the lobby with your your drink or your luggage, you can see a piece of history right there. But it's interesting too that we have like some malls around here, like the old Northwest Mall. There's been a lot of talk about converting that into the train station, the high-speed rail station. Now that project still needs final approval. They're still working on the funding, but if everything goes how the developers want it to go, that will be where that is. So there is this trend of repurposing these old malls and these other spaces, and even beyond malls. I mean, just a lot of the sort of mixed-use developments that you see popping up, especially in the inner loop around Houston. But we've even seen it like in Sugarland with the town square. There's lofts above some of the businesses that are down there. So it's a concept that I think is really taking off.
Well, and Imperial Sugar, the sugar mill, they're working on renovating that as well. I think it's Imperial. I'm 90% sure it's Imperial Sugar.
Yeah.
There's the big tower there. Anyway, let us know what you think about this idea. I kind of like it. Your forecast today, beautiful, on repeat.
Yep.
Although we will start to see a few clouds later in the day, highs around 70. I do want to direct you to khou.com/weather so you can watch Erica's forecast, because notice the chances of showers start creeping back up. That's because there are a couple different fronts moving in here, but nothing too crazy, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, but still, just looking at that week-long forecast, you can't beat that, especially when every morning on H-Town Rush, you've been seeing the video from Boston where there's weather, 6 feet of snow and all the cars are buried in it, and the travelers stuck at the airport. And I mean, you feel for people in a large part of the country, but I always tell people, like, Houston's great to live in year-round, but this is when, like, I really love to just brag to all my friends in other places and do lots of Instagram photos and just, this is there's no better place to be this time of year.
Amen. All right, Jaime, comments, questions?
Of course, I'll start off saying good morning to some of our viewers. Good morning to Rosie, and I'm saying that because she's actually said hi to me on our feed, so good morning, Rosie. Good morning to Steve. Good morning to Georgia. Thank you all for watching. We are getting a lot of comments. Amy's like, oh my God, oh my goodness, no more shootings. And in regards to this deadly shooting we had early this morning.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Moving here, so my first week in news in Houston was the first week of March in 2015. And there were like 5 people killed overnight in shootings. That was the entire homicide rate in Eugene for the whole year, maybe. It is pretty incredible and hard to digest when you move down here.
It is, yeah. It was a shock for me too. I moved here from Austin, that's where I worked before. Of course, it's a smaller city than Houston, but I worked the overnight shift then, and I remember, we would go a week, sometimes 2 weeks without any kind of like an overnight shooting. Now, sometimes during the day, but I mean, just the rate.
Here, I don't know, you go a day, 2 days without it.
Yeah, so it's really, really sad to see that happening again, and hopefully, they'll get a better suspect description than what we have now, maybe some surveillance video. And
again, they say this isn't random, so it sounds like they know who they're looking for.
Yeah, and I don't remember if we mentioned it, but I believe police said they did find some kind of illegal gaming machines inside of the home, so maybe that was part of the connection there, maybe not. Again, I don't want to speculate. We'll have to see what comes out, but that was something that they mentioned in the press conference.
Got it.
Yes.
London says, oh my God, it's so sad. So kind of a lot of reaction to this latest shooting that we had this morning. Let's see what everybody's saying. Good morning to a lot of people. Good morning to Josue. Good morning to Tilsey. Thank you all for watching. Jose said he's doing a rain dance.
Oh, goodness. It's coming.
Yeah.
Erica says it's coming.
Yeah, in Houston, you can always count on it. It'll show up at some point.
Yeah. D says, the Spurs refs were on the payroll. They were paid to call that game and also the foul at the end. It was fouled by 2. So I guess people are talking about a lot of different calls, reacting to a lot of the calls in the game. I know one person on Twitter was commenting about the illegal backcourt violation. But yeah, I think it kind of goes a lot. I know a lot of reaction was that, they blew a 22-point lead, and
Or one of the other things that you didn't even have time to cover this morning was one of the fans barking at Harden about how we don't want to see just a free throw contest.
Right, he was about to go up to the line to, I guess, shoot another free throw, and he yelled some choice words. I'll try to, do the PG version here, but basically like, well, we're tired. Don't foul us so much then, basically.
Yeah, we don't want to play a foul game, so.
Yeah, so of course, a little back and forth between him and the Spurs fans, which you'd expect with a rivalry.
It's chippy, yeah.
Yeah, and it's great for social media too. It gives us something to talk about. But yeah, I mean, we heard a lot of those comments, Jaime, about how the Rockets really had a lot of opportunities throughout that game.
Yeah.
Well, some people blame the refs, others said, there were multiple times. And full confession, I did not watch the game. I had a 1 a.m. wake-up call this morning, so I've been trying to play catch up.
However, I got to point out that on Sunday, the Texans game, he was locked in.
That's true. I mean, it was Texans versus Patriots, and I told myself I was going to go to bed at halftime, but then we were up 14-3, and I had to see, what ended up happening.
See it through, definitely.
Had to see it through.
But now you're tired. He's been on the shift for 3 days now.
Yeah.
It's amazing how easily you can fall asleep at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, even like standing up sometimes. So no, I'm gonna try the Brandi Smith like Mountain Dew. It might combine it with coffee. I don't know.
Your heart might explode, but mine hasn't yet.
Yeah, but I'll be awake. So.
In regards to kind of like talking about the animals that might come into our yards or might be threatened to our properties. Alvin has a funny comment about that the raccoons in Galveston will eat Cheetos out of your hand. So
yeah. I believe it. It just it really depends on how scared they are of humans, and if they're around them a lot.
In Galveston, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, in Galveston, obviously a big beach town. My one really kind of up close and personal encounter with raccoons was I was beach at another location in Costa Rica one time, and they call them the Costa Rican Mafia down there because literally you'll be sitting on the beach, they're looking at you like you're making eye contact. I'm like, dude, I see you over there. And they will walk right up to your stash of snacks and just swipe it and run off.
Wow.
Run off. Yeah, this person we were traveling with, she left her stuff behind. I mean, for not even 5 seconds. And she turned around and that raccoon was already in the jungle behind her, running off with her bag. You cannot take your eyes off them for a second.
One of my favorite stories, camping, because you had to be extra careful with all of your stuff when you're in any food that you bring with you camping because of the raccoons in Oregon, Northern California, and we were at Lassen. Volcanic. It's a national park. And my dad had burned the first round of hot dogs. So he gave it to my dog. And of course the dog's overwhelmed. It's like 10 hot dogs. So he eats a little bit of one and then he's like, I don't know, and buried it. Well, we went on a walk.
For later, maybe?
We went on a walk, came back, the raccoons had, the whole bowl was gone.
Oh yeah.
They'd cleared it out. I assume it's raccoons. It could have been, I don't know, a mountain lion.
Well, so at Big Bend National Park here in Texas, there's a certain area where there are a lot of bears. And they actually have bear boxes, and they tell you, it's like a metal container that shuts completely solid so that the bears can't smell the food because it will attract them.
I thought you needed to get in the bear box.
Oh no.
Okay.
No, I don't want to camp there.
Just climb in.
Yeah. I guess the bear box would be my car in that situation. Just lock the doors and hope they don't tip it over. But I mean they can smell that food from a long distance away, and so if you don't want the critters to come, just keep it locked up.
Oh, life in the wilderness. Anything else, Jaime?
No, but just adding into that conversation, the ones that kind of, obviously they're no threat, but they were kind of really interesting is how friendly and approachable the squirrels are on the campus of Rice. I don't know if you've ever encountered them, but I mean, they'll come right up to you. They're not scared. They don't run away, and they kind of have this look on their face like they're expecting you to feed them too. So I guess they get a lot of attention.
When they waddle up to you because they've eaten so many Cheetos.
Right. Yeah. So the squirrels on the Rice University campus always at first it was it freaked me out, but I mean they're cute. They're squirrels. Obviously they're harmless, but it's just like
okay,
wow.
They're mean too.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Squirrels are mean too.
You can have a stash of food on you when you go to campus.
Just so the squirrel mafia doesn't come in.
Yeah, we used to have the same problem. I went to UT Austin, and it was the same deal. They were
U of O too. Yeah, University of Oregon.
Yeah, they were not scared of anything.
Well, Adam, thank you for coming on.
It was fun. Thanks for including me in the fun, and appreciate you guys watching as always. And
he'll be here tomorrow.
And Friday.
Yes.
Yes, and probably hyped up on a lot more Mountain Dew than I am right now.
It
Whatever
is what
Brandi
keeps us
does,
going.
that's what I'm doing.
It is what keeps us going. There's another update coming up at 2:15 this afternoon. You can tune in for that. But for now, coming up in about 15 minutes, we're going to be streaming the Judicial Committee's impeachment hearing if you want to tune in for that.
Yeah.
Have a good
See you guys.
day.